We are live. Yes. Hey, y'all. Okay, so I'm seeing some of you sign up literally right now for Love Wild Awake tomorrow as we start this live, which is awesome.
So exciting.
That is awesome. Maybe this was your reminder. So hello. If you are here, we are also on Facebook, going live on our Facebook page. So if you have not already gone and liked our new Facebook page that we have created for 2021, we are also on Facebook, and it's a good place to keep track of the events that we plan each month if you're into Facebook events or on Facebook often or any of the things. So welcome to our live today. This is not going to be super long. We just wanted to, hello back in return. And I just want to, let's see, it says Love Wild Awake on there. There we go. I want to come on here and just tell you that it's going to be very quick today because we're just popping in. We wanted to pop in for a quick Q&A. We might try to do this at least once a month, but right now we're just wanting to answer some basic Q&As. We are also just wanting to give everyone a little bit of a reminder that we do meet every single month, talk about some of the cool changes that we have implemented, because if you ever came to the Love Wild Awake Gather Circle when it was just me hosting it by myself, it has gone through many changes and iterations over 2020 that if you are outside of our little circle of people that have been coming, you might not know. So we have some general Q&As. If you have any Q&As for us here in the moment, feel free to drop them down below. Feel free to share this live as well for anyone who you think might be curious or seeking community for ethically non-monogamous folks of all kinds. So is there anything you want to say? Is there anything I'm just taking over?
Yeah, you're fine. I love letting you take over and watching you do that. It's always really enjoyable for me personally. So hi, everyone. We're so excited to be here again. Super short live. Some of you all had dropped some questions on our question sticker. Thank you so much for the interaction. We super appreciate when you all participate. That's a big thing for us as being community members and trying to build community is this isn't about us trying to be experts in this field or take over the space or anything like that. We really just want to be in community with you all. And I'm just super excited about the wonderful opportunities we have for this year for you all to be in community with us. And we hope that this is a space that provides you resources and access to information and continue developing your own relationship love styles and how that looks for you and the partners in your community.
Yeah, and thank you. Thank you for the question. So I guess we could maybe start with that question. We have a couple of questions in the queue. Feel free to drop some or also leave some anecdotes in the chat, because a part of being in community is knowing that you all also have answers to these questions. So so I see in the chat right now we have, what would someone get out of attending Love Wild Awake? So that is a good question. So I also just want to take this moment to tap onto what is attending Love Wild Awake. So we do have the Gather Circles. We are also going to be having workshops scheduled in 2021. So I think that those will be two separate offerings that you'll get different things out of. Do you have an answer to that?
Oh, you want me to? Okay. Yes, I do. I definitely have an answer. Yes. Attending Love Wild Awake events, really for me, I think that something that people really get out of it is the opportunity to have access to resources and information around ethical non-monogamy and whatever types of, ethical non-monogamy you are doing, whether that be relationship anarchy, polyamory, or whatever else you may label or call it. I think I find that there are a lot of resources, both online and in spaces to really engage over traditionally monogamous relationships and get resources and get access to information and get access to skills and tools to manage those relationships. And while I think there's definitely a lot of overlap, right? Relationships in general, whether you're monogamous or polyamorous or ethically non-monogamous, take a level of work and skill and development, no matter where you are on the spectrum of love style. But I think that one of the really unique things about Love Wild Awake sessions and Gather Circles is that it is solely focused specifically on ethical non-monogamy and other types of ethical non-monogamy relationship love styles. And I think that gives folks a really solid foundation and core place to to share their feelings, to share the things that are coming up for them in real time in their real relationships without getting a one-size-fits-all kind of information pamphlet or resource guide from somebody, that maybe doesn't necessarily match the relationship love style that you're in, or maybe you're in a new relationship love style and you have more questions and you just want to hear about other people who have lived a similar relationship to you, or have had experience in a similar relationship to you, or are currently in a similar relationship to you. And it really is about building community, being able to build resources together, and really have a place to get your questions answered and have a space to go to build your skills and tools, because I do believe that there are a set of skills and tools that are just very different and unique compared to traditionally monogamous relationships.
For sure. I second all of that. And also just thinking that I feel like in what has been happening, especially over 2020 in our gather circles, is that people are starting to realize in the liberation of thinking in these non-traditional relationship styles, people have started to recognize the similarities across all of their relationships. So when we get together and we start talking about, boundaries with partners or preferences with partners, communication with partners, different things that come up, we start to realize how that relates to how we might speak to our parents now that we're adults, or how we need to establish boundaries with friends, especially in the pandemic. So we see that it tends to stretch over the lengths of all different styles of relationships. And I think that opportunity sometimes gets lost when you are talking about romantic relationships in the traditional monogamous form, because we are so used to comparing them to this cultural idea of what that relationship should be. So I think that in the gather circle, people can expect to for sure get resources. They can get a little bit of education. Education is not really the forefront of the gather circles. It is not about us trying to educate you or anything. We are giving our experiences and our information. We do give a resource, as Sage said before, but it's mainly about community. It's about everyone getting the chance to be heard, everyone getting a chance to speak, and us all resonating with one another. The workshops, the first and foremost of the workshops is education. So the workshops will be an educational space, specifically about topics that we do feel like we could educate on based on our perspectives, based on our research, based on our experiential evidence. So those will be more education-based. The gather circles are more community-based. So it is really for you to feel heard and be heard and seen. Do we have other? We have some other questions
as well.
See some people popping in here. Hello, thank you for taking some time with us.
Okay. Positive and healthy situations for single people who are poly. Ooh, do you mind?
That is a heavy yes. Go ahead, take that one.
I have spent the last 7 years or so being in some semblance of an ethical non-monogamous type of relationship, everywhere from traditional polyamory, relationship anarchy, solo polyamory, which is a terminology that a lot of folks use if they are a singular person doing polyamory and has other partners. But a core part of that, right, is that you are looking to build your life with yourself, and then extending that out to your partners in a peripherally connective way. And so that doesn't negate relationships or connections or how deep the relationships can go. A lot of times for solo polyamorous folks, they're thinking, right, that they don't want to intertwine life things with other folks for whatever reason. And that can change and ebb and flow, right? And so I think that as someone that has spent some time being without, a traditional style of nesting partner or cohabitation partner, or a partner that I'm actively in everyday life, kind of building a life with and intertwining our things together, like finances and where we're going to live and where the jobs that we're going to take are going to exist and things like that. Are we going to have children and things like that? And so as someone who hasn't been having those conversations really in a heavy way with a specific person for a very long time, I think that there is a lot of richness here in the opportunity when you are single as well. And I think I definitely want to talk about that, because choosing to be solo polyamorous is not the same as choosing to be, single.
Yeah.
And so when you are single and polyamorous, I think that the first thing that I definitely want you to remember or encourage you to remember is that just because you do not have any partners does not make you any less polyamorous, right? Polyamorous is a state of like existing and identifying your relationship love styles. And you are allowed to identify as polyamorous even if you have 0 partners. Because in your essence, in your being, in your relationship love styles, those are the types of relationships and connections you are trying to nurture and create. And just because you don't have any partners right at this given moment doesn't negate that. And I think I just really want to make sure I say that, because I think that that's super important for people who are single and exploring and engaging and being polyamorous, right? And I think as far as healthy situations go, right, I think that is very similar to what I would say to anybody else that is exploring ethical non-monogamy and relationships. That healthy relationships at the core, right, require a lot of communication, dedication, and intention to creating and building really thoughtful and intentional, deep relationships and connections. And I think the fear that can come into being single and polyamorous is a scarcity mentality, right? I don't have any partners. I need to have partners because then that validates me as a polyamorous person. And you're looking for all of this external validation, right? And I say this as someone who has gone through all of this. So when I say you, I'm not saying like you.
We really mean all of us.
Yes. I don't mean like you individually. I just mean like you and I, we are the same. We are one and the same, okay? With the 0 and 1 at the exact same time in this conversation. When I say you, I mean me. And so, right. So as you are navigating that, and looking at what you want your relationships to look like, I think it's really important not to fall into this scarcity mentality. Like, I'm never going to find anyone. Nobody's ever going to match what I'm looking for. All of those operate from a place of scarcity, right? That there's not enough people in the world and that you are at a deficit because you don't currently have any partners. And I think that is a narrative that we can tell ourselves that isn't accurate. Because the truth is there are people out there. There are plenty of people out there. And there are going to be people that meet and match the needs and wants that you have. And I would say that while you are single and polyamorous, take the time.
Take it.
Take the time. Take the time to relax. Take the time to rest. Take the time to really deep dive with yourself and understand how you are trying to show up into the world and into polyamorous relationships. Because I think that many of us who are polyamorous or ethically non-monogamous relationship anarchs, however you identify in the love style spectrum, that relationships are hard and they take a lot of work and they take a lot of intention and building. And if you come to the table ready and prepared with your own foundation built, like, this is the foundation of my love style, this is the foundation of the life that I'm trying to lead, it will be a lot easier for you to figure out who and how that people can fit into that space. And I think sometimes something on the opposite end of the spectrum that can happen when you are single and polyamorous is that you are engaging in too much abundance.
Yeah.
Right. So you are either on the spectrum, right? Sometimes you can end up on one end of the spectrum, right? Either from a place of scarcity or from a place of abundance. And because you are so inundated with abundance and relationships and opportunities to date and opportunities to engage and connect with people, you kind of throw yourself into that space and then you hyper date, right? Like hyper, engage with people, hyper attached to people very quickly, and things like that. And I think that doesn't necessarily always serve us in the best ways, right? We really, I say this a lot, but the answer lies kind of somewhere in the middle, right? We don't want to operate too much from a place of scarcity, and we also don't want to inundate ourselves with abundance, because when we are inundated with abundance in a way that we are not being intentional about, we take those things for granted, and then those things just kind of feel like we're entitled to them, or that they just will naturally come, and or that it will always be that way. And we trick ourselves into thinking that abundance is the way that we need to live in order to manifest our reality in this polyamorous, ethical, non-monogamous.
And once again, feel validated.
Yes. And space and feel validated. Absolutely. So those are kind of just my thoughts on folks who are navigating being single or without partners, while also being polyamorous.
Yes. All of that. I mean, I don't need to say much more. Everybody was saying in the comments as you were talking, like how validated everyone feels. So yes, I mean, that is yes.
Yes.
And also I think it's a lot of dating yourself. I always say single is service. Like that is service to yourself and service to your future partners, because you're dating yourself and you are figuring out what the hell you want. So I am all for, taking that single time as service to yourself, dating yourself, creating a really deep, authentic relationship with yourself. Yes.
Okay. And then the other question is, how would you suggest battling heavy codependency?
Oh shit, I can answer that question. Because hello, miss. I have beat my own codependency. I'm in the process of beating my own codependency. I think there are, first and foremost, different types of codependency that exist. I think there's emotional sides of codependency, physical sides of codependency. I'm saying hi, Piper. But I think there are all different types of codependency. So it's really narrowing down which one you feel like you're experiencing, despite what end it's coming from, whether it's coming from you or somebody else. But once again, I think it's two things. One, not being in conflict with yourself. So I feel that a way to really get to the root of codependency is working on your own self-empowerment and radical self-acceptance, self-trust, and that relationship specifically with yourself. Once again, like we get back to that real relationship with ourselves, where it's not always bubble baths and bath bombs and like nice showers and sleeping in the bed and watching Netflix. It's also like being incredibly real with yourself, being able to call yourself into work, and realizing if your emotional state or your physical state is dependent on other people, that it is only your job. It is an inside job. Your happiness is an inside job. That is no one else's work to do but your own. And so I also think it's not being in conflict with yourself. And the only way that you can create a space that is not in conflict with yourself is to know yourself. And then also, as we've been talking about a lot this year so far, not being in conflict with reality. That is our 2021 thing for this year, is not being in conflict with reality. And so when things happen, and this is a lot of how I got to the root of my codependent emotional issues of, being the fixer, being the healer, being the one who always wants to be, also involved in how everybody's feeling and just wanting to fix all the things. I really started to battle when things happened, how I would feel about it. And the fact that I would essentially be arguing with reality for an extensive period of time. Like I would waste so much time and energy just arguing with reality of like, but this isn't happening. How can I keep it from happening? Is this happening? I'm not really sure. How do I feel about this happening? I'm really upset. And just like lashing out at all of the possible moments. And just getting to a place of like, this is happening. Like I don't have to argue about it happening. I don't have to try to keep it from happening. It's already happening. It's probably already happened. And that I can come from a proactive place with myself of what does that mean for me? How is it making me feel? And getting to a place where I'm taking my own internal stock and my own data. So all I can say is know thyself. And we only know thyself by facing thyself and spending time with thyself, which is why I always like to really encourage people to pick up a meditation practice, not because meditation is the answer to all the problems, but because reserving specific time for yourself and your breath every day is really like one of the first steps. And at the beginning of our circle, we breathe together. At the end of our circle, we breathe together to regulate our nervous systems and create community authentically. So that is also something you will get out of coming to the circles.
Yes. And I think too, in addition, yes, everything that Scout just said. And then in addition to that, right, building security in your relationships. Codependency comes from a place of fear of either abandonment or loss or the scarcity mentality, right? That I'm going to lose something if I don't, if I'm not attached to this thing every single moment of every single day, knowing exactly how it's operating, know exactly what it's thinking, know exactly what it's doing, then that means I'm going to miss the thing that causes them to leave me, or I'm going to miss the thing that causes them to abandon me. Mm-hmm. And what we can build in the relationships that we have and through intention and through understanding ourselves is understanding, how do I feel secure in a relationship?
What do I need for security?
What do I need for that security? And I think something that myself and all of my partners have gone through in the last week, very recently, 7 days, is affirming that security for each other in our relationships. And I think that the biggest thing that dictates codependency, or one of the biggest things that can dictate codependency, is conflict management. How do you each show up to conflict management, and how do you both show up in a relationship to conflict management, and how do we manage all of the conflict or potential misunderstandings or potential things that come up that we are not on the same page about? How are we managing that, and what does that look like for our relationship? Because codependency is bred from manipulation, even if it's not intentional, right? Because my trauma response to us being in conflict might be that I am like shutting you out or removing myself or putting up a barrier. And what I'm not realizing is that in your perception of that and your receiving of that, I am emotionally manipulating you to have this reaction to then come crawling back to me, or to also get mad, or to apologize, or I am trying to create an environment in which you do something to make me feel better and me feel more secure in the relationship, instead of showing up as two full, authentic people who are trying to manage conflict together, who can hold space, right, for how I am showing up, how I have experienced this experience alongside you, and how those two things are going to be different. Because the likelihood that you and your partners are always going to have the same experience at the same events is incredibly unrealistic. And it is very common that, especially in conflict, especially in miscommunication, that you two are, that two or more people are looking at the situation or the potential conflict from two different lenses. And if you are not on the same page about those lenses, then it can become very unhealthy and very toxic very quickly. And I think that's also why it's incredibly important that I think that codependency comes from a place of you versus me, whereas secure and attached relationships come from a place of us versus everything else.
Yes, or the problem.
Yes.
Like we talked about that this week, like us versus the problem. And I think that, yeah, codependency comes from a definite place of I need to get what I need. I need to get what I need. I need to get what I need, or else I'm going to die, right? Like that is literally what it, or everything's up in flame, or I'm so insecure. And I think that the funny thing is a lot of times if we are creating that environment with conflict management, we can just ask for it, right? Like we can just ask, which also makes us feel like we want to die and we have anxiety and all the things, you know what I mean? But like when we ask for it, we up our chances of getting what we want by like a lot of percentage, especially if these people are co-collaborating to create a conducive space for both of us. We up our chances by just asking. I feel secure when this happens. I feel secure when we can use this type of language. I feel secure when you recognize these things that I'm trying to do. I feel secure if we can maybe check in. Does that seem like it's just being able to start the conversation from a place of let's breed security, instead of waiting until the insecurity is insurmountable and then we're all just grasping at straws trying to make ourselves feel secure. That's when like the not so great coping mechanisms start to show through.
Yeah. And I think the last thing I'll say on that is that codependency operates from a place of urgency as well, right? Something is happening and now I urgently need to know, what is going to be the outcome? What's going to happen? Are you leaving me? Am I leaving you? What's happening? And something that we utilize in our relationship and in our language and conflict management is that when things arise or when people are having feelings or things come up, we are very specific about, hey, this is not relationship ending. This is not something that is going to make me want to leave this relationship. I am not in a place of wanting to leave this relationship. I'm not interested in leaving this relationship. But I am having some feelings about something that happened, or I am having some feelings about an interaction that we had, and I would really like to create some space to talk to you about that.
Yeah. The house is not on fire.
The house is not on fire. And I think that codependency is bred from a place of like urgency of everything is on fire, and that if I don't do something immediately, it's all going to burn down to the ground, and I'm going to lose this person that I'm attached to and want to be with. And so I think dialing down that level of urgency and level setting what the actual conflict is or what is arising. And I think something that we found in our relationship that's been very helpful as well is that we still operate as usual, right? That even if we are in conflict, even if we know we need to have a conversation, even if we know something is coming up that we have to talk about, we still are like, we understand this isn't going to ruin our relationship, so we don't need to punish, right? We don't need to punish each other
ourselves.
Yes.
Even in a moment of conflict.
Yes. We don't need to punish each other because we're having conflict. And let me just say this for some of you. You don't need to punish your partner for hurting your feelings or because your feelings are hurt.
Ooh, again, for the people in the back.
We don't need to punish our partners for when our feelings are hurt. And when our feelings are hurt, we have to trust that we've built good relationships with our partners as a team, so that they're also interested and willing and capable of showing up to that conflict in a way of, how can we deal with this together? Yes. Because I am not going to punish you and you are not going to punish me.
Yes, that is not what we are here for. I'm here to make sure that everyone is having a good time and to make sure that I am also having a good time. And that is what we are trying to do together. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. I'm having my own moment over here. So with that, I will say we just wanted to hop on here very quickly to answer a few questions. If you ever have any more, don't hesitate to slide into our DMs on Facebook or on Instagram. If you are not already signed up, our signups for the Love Wild Awake Circle, you can sign up for up to 12 hours beforehand. If you try to sign up tomorrow, it will be closed because we like to know how many people are going to be in the circle so that we can plan accordingly. So I suggest signing up today. If not, I will see you next month. And with that, we are going to go and enjoy our evening. So we hope you enjoy your evening. Drink your water, stay safe, stay aware, know thyself, reflect, all the things. We will see all the Love Wild Awake Gather members tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central. Bye.